Hello everyone, my name is Ian Mackay. I am a software engineer. I'm in collaboration with Rivet Games just now. I'm developing the suburban Glasgow North West route between Springburn and Helensburgh Central. So I've been working in this route for 7 years, starting in 2013 after using the Edinburgh to Glasgow and West Coast Main Line North routes. Basically got inspired by them to make this route because it's around the area I grew up and where all my family have lived. And it was driving in the West Coast Main Line North and arriving in Glasgow Central low level and the line not going any further. I wanted to extend it to Dalmuir, and then I did that, and it just grew from that. So as you can see, I mean, it's a standalone route that covers northwest of Glasgow. The route was actually split into phases. So the first phase was Partick to Dalmuir. That included Mulgai, the Singer and Clydebank lines. But then it grew in parts after that. So once I had done that, I kind of extended that east through the centre of Glasgow as part of phase two. Then from phase two, that extended from Glasgow round to Springburn and back through Maryhill to join at Anniesland again onto the route around phase one. The phase four route was from Dalmuir to Dumbarton. Then phases 5 and 6 were both Balloch and Helensburgh. So like I said, this is something that's happened over 7 years now. So along with the south side lines as well, which were obviously they're not part of this route. But that's the whole suburban Glasgow at the time kind of grew out of that. So over the course of the time, I've been developing it using Google Maps primarily, coupled with gradient profiles. I've got the gradient profiles from various places. I even had to apply to the council for them once at one point. Most of them are online, and there's a few kind of reference books I've been using as well. The way it worked actually is in the very beginning, before I did any of the phases, I put all the track down for everywhere, including all the signalling and all the kind of track related stuff. And then I did what I called a scenery creep, where I would just start at the right and work very, very slowly west in it. And that way the route grows out of that, if you like. But I did want to get the track done early because I wanted to put the route on the workshop, and if that was ever going to be finalised, then it makes sense for all the track to be there early on. Then once all the track's down, then I would go and kind of, maybe a mile or so, I would mark on the map, put bridges, embankments, all of that first. Then I would enrich it with foliage, buildings, all that kind of stuff as it progressed. So this bit we're looking at just now is actually the very first bit I did, right at the very beginning in 2013. This is coming out of the tunnel from Queen Street low level going towards Partick. And if you fly over that, the area on the left at the time was very bare, and one of the things I've done in collaboration with Rivet Games is enriching all of this with the hydro, the armadillo and the SECC obviously. Plus you can see in the distance there the Transport Museum, the Riverside Museum. So that was something that was very good to have done recently. But this area of route was what I refer to as phase one, where I went from Partick right along the route to Dalmuir. So I'll just fly over some of this just now. And Hindland is another station that has been completely custom made by Rivet Games. That was one that didn't work very well because it was an island station in the building. There was nothing similar there at all. So that's another one that's very good to have had. You see across here is Hindland Junction, and the line on the right goes up to Singer and Mulgai, and the line straight on here, which I'll go down just now, and passes through Yoker to Dalmuir. And I'll go this way just now because then you can see Yoker Depot and Scotstoun Grounds on the left there. Passing through Scotstoun Hill, and you'll see coming down here Garscadden Station, which is another one that's been made by Rivet Games, and then into Yoker Depot on the left. And this is good because people using the route can use Yoker Depot as a lot of scenario, ECS workings and things like that. And so it's a handy thing to have, Yoker Depot certainly. And then go up towards Clydebank, and then hopefully fairly soon you'll start to see the Erskine Bridge appear in the distance, which is quite good obviously because it's a key part of the route. Okay, yeah, there's Dalmuir. Dalmuir is the structure of the station is what I had done originally, but there's been a new platform made on the right here. And also the stairs and the lifts and all that is a custom asset that's been made by Rivet. Completely changes the look of Dalmuir, it looks great now. Whereas before it was all old assets that was put together. So what I've gone into now this is me actually crossing into phase 4. Phase 4 was the stretch from Dalmuir to Dumbarton. So I'll carry on down here. passing down through Kilpatrick. I really enjoyed making this bit because it's starting to you're starting to leave the city and get into the countryside. A semi-rural but still quite urban area. It was very enjoyable to make, and also I'm very familiar with the surrounding area as well. This is the kind of area I grew up in. This is a Bowling Marina here, and you can see that, passing through Bowling Harbour. And this is a traditional view that used to be in all of the kind of the flyers and stuff like that about the original North Clyde line when it opened. There was a famous painting set here with the blue trains passing. Obviously the Erskine Bridge wasn't there at that point, but you can see it here. And up past Bowling towards Dumbarton. It's the village of Milton in the distance there. There's not a station here, but it's still quite nice to pass it. And as we arrive in Dumbarton here. And at Dumbarton the line splits, and we've got the branch to Balloch, which I'll show you first. So going up towards Balloch now. And this is where the line goes down to single track, and passes through the Vale of Leven. It's flying past the Vale bypass there, through the station of Renton, and along the single track towards Alexandria, which is actually at the top of a hill. So it's quite nice because as you're coming up here you get the nice view across, across the surrounding area, past Alexandria station, and then the final jump to Balloch. It's the River Leven there. Past quite a lot of industry at the end. So a good thing about this railway is how varied it becomes. I mean, you start off in the urban area of central Glasgow, you pass the commercial part of the hydro and the Waterfront Museum, then you go through suburbia, and then passing Dalmuir you pass the Erskine Bridge and all that area, then you get to Dumbarton and it changes again back in urban area. I'll fly over the road here because Charing Cross is a subterranean station. This has been completely revamped. This was made from the bottom up from Rivet Games. It looks fabulous, I think. Again, before it was kind of assets that I had crammed together before, and it looked pretty awful. So there's the new Charing Cross. This is phase 2 we're in just now. Phase 2 was effectively Charing Cross to Queen Street to Belgrove. I'm just going to Queen Street. This is Queen Street low level. Again, completely built from scratch by Rivet, and it looks excellent, I think. Another one that previously I had scrambled together by various assets, so it's looking a lot better now. Also, the part of the route is Queen Street high level. This is not electrified actually. We had kind of discussed maybe electrifying it, but the two railways, the two scenarios that you would operate from this, they're not electrified scenarios, so it wasn't really worth doing that. So I'll continue along here to High Street, and again the building at the end of the platform has been custom made by Rivet. High Street itself's kind of pieced together, but I think it looks okay. So High Street was the end of, or between High Street and Belgrove was the end of phase 2. So we'll go along here, and there's a tunnel here. A lot of this has been revamped for this version of the route, the tunnel being one of them. So you go through the tunnel and then you end up in phase 3. And phase 3 was Belgrove to Springburn, and then cutting into Queen Street high level, and then from there through the Maryhill diesel line to Anniesland, and merging back at Westerton for the West Highland line trains as well. Because another thing this route has is it has the Glasgow Queen Street to Helensburgh Upper, which if you like is the missing link of the West Highland line, because there's been various other versions of the route, but you never ever had Helensburgh Upper to Glasgow Queen Street. So that's now completed as well. And if I work straight on there, you would get the line to Airdrie. But we're going to Springburn through the tunnels here past Duke Street in the east end of Glasgow. Again, there's a lot of industry around here up through Alexandra Parade. This is all phase 3. Actually, I'll stop and just look at this. Some of the assets were very, very old assets that I used from the original Cuju Rail Simulator. One of the things that I've done with Rivet and Alan is we've targeted the most common ones of these and the most prominent ones of these, and Alan's retextured them so that they're a lot more kind of up to date and high resolution now. So they're looking a lot better as well. Now continue up towards Springburn. That's the M8 across there. It's quite a long run up from Alexandra Parade to Springburn, so a lot of tunnels and things like that. Through Barnhill Station. That's just Barnhill's in Springburn. And then Springburn, obviously, Springburn's a big railway part of Glasgow. And there were railway works here as well. St Rollox was here. Built steam engines there for about a century. So the line ends in Springburn here, but we continue it through towards Cowlairs and Eastfield Depot. And this is all still phase 3. This was done in phase 3. So it goes from here down the Maryhill line now, which is used by local trains and also the West Highland line. That's Ashfield Station. And coming towards here, this is Possil Park. One thing you do see quite a lot of in the route is the Forth and Clyde Canal. Obviously that runs east to west, so there's quite a few places the Forth and Clyde Canal actually crosses this railway. Passing Gilshay Hill, one of Glasgow's places that's spelt completely different to it sounds. Summerston, in the local flats here. And then finally passing through the namesake of this line, Maryhill. That's it there. And then at this point the local trains to Anniesland branch off and go down to Kelvindale. Kelvindale's the little station here, and the line ends at Anniesland. That's here. This is back in phase 1 again now. Anniesland was one of the phase 1 stations. And back down here to Hindland Junction, which we passed earlier, heading on the way to Balloch and Dumbarton. So I'll go back up here. This is us back in phase 1, and the line from Maryhill, the diesel line, continues, and this is used by West Highland trains and various freight, and it merges with the North Clyde line here. Again, we're all back in phase 1 here. Phase 1 was quite a big phase because it covered all this and the line down to Mulgai to the right here. There's Bearsden, and finally Hillfoot. And then there's railway quite suddenly goes into the countryside. There's a golf course on your right here, and then through the Allender area up towards Mulgai, which is single track as you can see, ending with Mulgai. Again, the station building in Mulgai is a Rivet custom built asset, so it's nice to see the custom stuff appearing in the route as well. So that's phase 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'll jump to Dumbarton then and we'll do the run down towards Helensburgh, which is this part you can see here. That's Helensburgh. So this is Springburn here, Partick here, Dalmuir here, Dumbarton here and Balloch here. That's Dumbarton Central that we passed earlier on, crossing the river, leaving Dalriach, and then you go down through a couple of single tunnels here, and this is out on the main line towards Helensburgh now, which again is also used by the West Highland line trains. And you can see right across the Clyde there to the Inverclyde area, that would be Gourock and Greenock and the likes. Another good thing about this stretch of line is there's a lot of wee farms and kind of stuff like that, wee country roads with level crossings, that kind of thing. This is Cardross, or Cardross, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. And heading out, there's a long stretch now between Cardross and Craigendoran. So Cardross towards Craigendoran. And the thing I like about this is there's lots of little villages and little farms and houses and stuff like that. And the good thing is that when you're passing through areas like this, when you're building areas like this, it's a lot quicker than it is the kind of central Glasgow area that took me, it literally took me months and months to get all that done. And then you come into Helensburgh here, this is Craigendoran Junction, and this is where the West Highland line splits up to the right here. It's quite a long stretch of this actually, it's a good 2 or 3 miles, so you get a nice running part of that too. And ending at Helensburgh Upper, with the boundary of the route being just beyond us. Getting from Craigendoran Junction, you go down to the left to go to Helensburgh Central, which is the terminus of the electric services. This all used to be double track in the 60s and 70s, but it was singled long ago. There we go, through the town of Helensburgh. Ending in Helensburgh Central. This is a station that was pieced together by bits and pieces, but it's been vastly upgraded. Alan did a lot of retexturing in the buildings at the end, for example. These are original Cujo buildings, but they're much better now. And that's the end of the line. All the station name boards, I made them and they've been completely revamped for this as well, to use the correct fonts. You can see the Dalriach Station building, I made that myself. It serves a purpose pretty well, I think. Alexandria was another one that's fairly similar to Dalriach. But for the most part, the vast majority of the assets came from existing things, plus the work that Rivet had done, the artists that Rivet had done. One of the main things about the freeway route is it had a big list of requirements for it. You had to buy 4 routes, but there was also kind of lots of freeware stuff that you had to download as well. So actually installing the freeware version of the route was quite a complicated process. Probably most of the support time I spent helping people with it was just simply getting it installed. So the fact that this is going to be a single unit, if you like, with all the assets included, everything included that people can get for the price of one unit, one route, sorry, makes a huge difference, obviously, because rather than having to bundle everything together. And in terms of the project for the commercial one, probably the longest part of the project was me converting everything to be looking at a single place, rather than a little bit from this route, a little bit from that route. The big thing was actually getting everything in the same place. One of the things that I had done with this route, the original kind of scope of it, if you like, it wasn't just it was this plus it had been merged with other routes. It had been merged with the West Highland Line South route, but it had also been merged with the West Highland Line Extension route, which was owned by Thomson Interactive. And I had asked Alan Thompson for permission about that. And also, over the years I'd been asking Alan for various permissions to use bits and pieces. So it was that day that we kind of got conversations started about maybe doing something like this one of these days. And it just grew from that, basically. Initial conversations that were me saying, do you mind if I merge this into my route, that kind of thing. So that's how this project effectively started. As the route grew, my skills in various things grew as well. So, for example, as I was going through Hindland, I'd only just started. I didn't even know what the asset building was. Well, not quite, but I was certainly never ever tried to do it. It was a massive achievement when I managed to get the station name boards up in Partick. So there was no way I was going to start building Hindland station building or the glass building in Partick or anything like that, because I didn't have a clue what to do. But as the route developed, when I got slightly better at building things, that's when I started doing, let me try these platform warnings in Dalrier Station and stuff like that. And eventually I got to the point where I was able to do stuff like that. But you can see the stuff I made is more in the west of the route. The Erskine Bridge is another one. The stuff in the centre isn't like that, and that's it's the central Glasgow area is the core of it, is, if you like, is what Rivet have focused on. As you saw, Queen Street High Level's been revamped, Charing Cross. In fact, every station in the corridor between High Street and Hindland has been touched by Rivet in some way. I think the main thing about this route is it's more of a network. So there's a lot of possibilities to do many, many different things on it. You've got kind of very slow commuter trains stopping at every station. You've got trains, trains coming from the West Highland Line that go pretty fast. You've got freight services, you've got a lot of rail tours come along here. There's nothing stopping people running steam engines along here, because that happens quite often in real life as well. So I think probably the biggest thing about this is just the sheer variety of it. And like I said, it's not just the variety of scenery as you come out of Glasgow, but the variety of services that you can have on it. And I've tried to reflect that in the various scenarios that are part of it as well. Some of them are all stoppers that take ages, and some of them are pretty fast. Well, I hope you all found that informative, and if you liked this video, please subscribe and leave a comment.